Welcome back to the Torque Test channel. This week, after long await, DeWALT released their first new high torque impact wrench for the better part of 8 years. And this is not it. This is their old 899, but looks wise, DeWALT decided if it ain't broke, don't fix it, because their all new DCF900 here, which is way more powerful according to the brand, looks nearly identical. It picked up about half a pound, which you can feel, but is hopefully going to good use, but otherwise, same length, shape, appearance. There's only a few details between them that can separate these two models, which is a big shame because with the difference in specs between them, the unknowing shopper is unlikely to pick up on this change or reason for the price increase. 1,200 foot-pounds up to 1,400 bolt breakaway, and 700 up to 1,030 foot-pounds, which means it conveniently takes on the Milwaukee at 1,400 and 1,000 with just a tad bit more on top of that 1,000. The best way to tell that this is the new gen is these push-button speed mode selectors and adjustable LED brightness, the old model being that mechanical switch type. And when this original 899 came out, many forget it was up against the original Makita high torque in the first generation of Milwaukee fuel high torque, not the 2767. That's how long it's been. And that not at all new 2767 is actually the latest big half-inch from any of these three top brands until today. What stands out to me the most just looking at this thing initially is the immense RPM this has going for it for a high torque. 2,300 RPM and 2,200 impacts per minute. That's around 20% higher than we're used to seeing. But really, it's all about the torque numbers today with how impressive their latest mid-torque DCF 891 is. When it comes to the beans, well, everyone has been expecting this release to really shake things up at the top. And to do that, it will need to take on the highest torque output impact wrenches sold at retail to make an impression. And these would be them. We measure tightening in forward and reverse compared to old school impact figures from days past. And we got plenty of different DeWALT batteries today to try and see if we can reach some of those numbers. Though we first test how the tools are kitted out, and in this case that will be a 5 amp hour battery. So let's get into that without further delay. This is our first 5-second test called Working Torque. Here's how the Milwaukee does versus the rigid octane and that old DeWALT DCF 899. $572 with the rigid making a bit more as it tends to do, probably the reason why they canned it, and the DCF 899 lagging behind, it's showing its age here. And here's the new DCF 900, 3% more than that Milwaukee they claim, but less power than that rigid. $647 foot-pounds. That's no joke. We're on to something here. Not only does that beat everything shown so far, here's that versus the near $1,000 as a kit Snap-on CT9080, and that thing's a beast. So it tops the Snap-on and well tops every half-inch that's ever been sold as far as we can tell so far in this test. It's a record. So we're going to drop the rigid for now in place of the higher numbers punching CT9080 to really see where this new DeWALT stacks up. Our next test is in reverse, 10 seconds of it in a nearly 60-year-old industry standard called max torque. Here's the DCF 900 taking on the Snap-on, Milwaukee, and old DCF 899. $799. Again, besting the Snap-on, though the larger and heavier hammers in that CT98 making up some of that early progress. Those of you who know where the Milwaukee ends up in these series of tests already know the writings on the wall for the red brand seeing this. Our next test is called Best Case Scenario, 15 seconds in reverse here, freshly charged batteries. Let's see if the 900 can continue its streak. Okay, 830. Let's not pretend that's bad. But was hoping to see this just sort of run away with things. It definitely didn't sound very happy either. That's nothing unique to DeWALT's. We get some of that popcorn sounding or stuttering action way more from this brand than any other, and it does make it difficult to put out consistent back-to-back runs. But 830 was this one's BCS run nonetheless. That said, it does have a trick up its sleeve you'll be seeing soon. This is what the lightest weight form of this tool does in torque, equipped with a power stack. And it's going to see all the way up to 819 foot-pounds this time. Comes out a bit harder down low, but isn't able to sustain or build on that versus a 5 amp hour battery. The 4 amp hour 21700 cell pack is also around the same as these, or roughly the same as a 5 amp hour, so not too interesting there. The 15 amp hour pack though, that I would expect to see something from when paired with DeWALT's latest brushless motor of this size. Let's see. $879, beating the Snap-on now, and it sounds like it's beating itself up a bit there as well. But the mixture of decent discharge rate from all those 18650s inside and just minimal voltage sag at all make for some good numbers for sure. But some of you may remember all the way back when testing the Milwaukee, its 778 figure that we use pretty damn often here was in forward. It's not unusual for high torques to make more in forward than in reverse, and we allow them a shot at that in our best case scenario test. In the Milwaukee's case, it's usually about 15 foot-pounds or so. In the DCF900 shattered records in its 5-second forward test, we're going to put it up against here the Mako 20 volt as well, the highest scoring half-inch impact on this test ever. Also, like the Snap-on, it's not cheap. Here's the DeWALT's real best case scenario test, which is in forward with the 5 amp hour battery again. $895, that's with a 5 amp hour battery, beating everything we've ever tested and beating up sockets along the way. One of the few impacts we've tested that can do this to a new socket. Make sure you have your warranty ready on those sockets. This DeWALT, even at $300, but especially as a kit, is around half the price of a tool truck impact like that Mako or Snap-on, yet across all the testing is usually more powerful with its base battery. So you know what we got to do with this DCF900, right? Let's feed this thing some 21700 cells and break into the 900s like its namesake. So we're going to first show you its best run with a 6 amp hour pack here that we've had a lot of luck with because we feel this one was the most impressive. $936 foot-pounds. The first half-inch impact sold anywhere to break into 900s for us, and well into them. Here's what the tool does with a 15 amp hour pack, which at best does appear to pile on a few extra footies. Can't complain about those numbers though you can complain about the weight of this tool with a 15 amp hour. These 6 or 8 amp hour batteries from DeWALT would definitely make this tool a better buy. It seems the latest brushless tools actually show a real difference between packs, drawing perhaps more peak amps than ever. Though that power is not without cost, when we're talking wrist-breaking scores, we gave the Milwaukee a 7.5 for heavy vibration. This DeWALT, like many DeWALTs, is a weird one and wants to be treated like a lady and just be held just right sometimes. At the best of times, it's a little bit of a handful, over 700 foot-pounds, but at the worst of times, especially with larger batteries, we see speed wobble, causing of stuck sockets onto the bolt, and pushback from the tool. With more regularity than any other impact we've tested, you'll only see this on super tight stuff that doesn't want to move, but it can be annoying. For all of this, it gets an 8.0, and it also gets hotter than any other high torque we tested as well, those impacts per minute really cranking things up. Now, we get this question all the time. Do you need all this power? Yes. Yes, we do. Do you? That's of course up to you, but there is a demand for this sort of tool. DeWALT says large lags and anchors, which maybe that's why it's a beast in forward, But there's also a common misconception that the book value for installing a car part has really anything to do with how much sweat it takes to remove it. This lower control arm, for instance, is a 70 foot-pound book spec, yet when corrosion has made it one with the car body, that goes out the window, requiring you to heat it and beat it until it submits to you. A Honda crank bolt is only 181 foot-pounds to install, but here's that same monster CT9080 snap-on we tested, not budging it an inch. So this DeWALT says take your weighted crank bolt socket and shove it. I got this. That's not even to mention how once you stick an extension on one of these things with a universal socket, to reach an awkward chassis bolt, you're already a good 50 to 60% down in torque right off the hop. Now let's head over the rank chart and see what kind of damage this thing can do. We're starting below the top cordless Matco for now, and we brought up this Milwaukee here so you can compare it as we go through this as well. As impressive as these power runs are, they don't really tell the full story, I feel, but we'll get to power alone coming next. These become scores of 65, 80, and 90. It remains 8.8 inches long, like the outgoing model, but made huge torque. That's 101.7 foot-pounds per inch, a cordless record here. It claimed 1,030 foot-pounds, just a hair up on the Milwaukee, and we saw as much as 91% or 91 points here, which is pretty crazy because this spanks the Rigid further down this list that's rated for 1,100 foot-pounds, and as a matter of fact, it makes well beyond the 3/4 inch Milwaukee that advertises 1,200 foot-pounds tightening here. People would just assume that these two tools were the same without people testing these side by side. Not that many are going to get this memo. $299 is a lot for DeWALT, I feel, and while Home Depot may be asking $329 for the M18 right now, these can still be found for around $250 at retailers. That $299 though, still well under what tool trucks are offering for better performance and a better battery selection in my opinion, 44.9 points as a function of power and price. That totals 472.6, putting the DeWALT in first among cordless and second overall, mainly due to the advantage of size and price of air tools. But this one's just frankly more powerful. The Thor, even if using a 1/2 inch airline, we get about 840 from. Now, average power, this is where the DeWALT comes to F things up. 711 foot-pounds per second averaged across the run. Many high torques for us don't make it into the 700 foot-pounds in a BCS test. The DeWALT's doing it on average every second across the run. That's with a chonker of a 15 amp hour battery, of course, but the 6 amp hour making 709 here is even more impressive considering the combined price of these things. Now you may think, hey, 200 foot-pounds here or there, not a huge difference. But on this channel, those are hard fought digits. The gap between this DeWALT and this Milwaukee 2767 is the same gap as that 2767 versus a mid-torque in 2022. That's purely insane. This is the most powerful 1/2 inch impact wrench on the planet. For now, I'd love to see something come along and upset it, but for now, this has got to be the cordless king, bar none. The DCF900 is a shake and bake of impacts for sure. It'll rattle you sometimes, it gets quite hot. But with as many batteries as we tested it in 3 runs each, we did just about 40 dyno runs with this tool and it's still acting like it did when it was out of the box. Appreciate you joining us on this one. Click subscribe to see the next one at least every Friday and some bonus days like today. Thanks for watching.